And then the final element, which has, I think, had a much bigger run in the UK and Europe, which I know we'll talk about today, is the advocacy piece.
Yeah.
And just trying to get away from this polarized narrative that oil and gas is bad, renewables are good, and there's kind of no space in between. And it's just not the case. And how do we have just a more pragmatic, conversation about the industry?
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, so when we talk about oil and gas, I think, at least understandably so, like the default is like, well, what's going on in the US? But I think if we just take a step back, high level, whether it's ESG or sustainability or CSR, whatever the hot term of the day,
term of the day,
exactly, whatever the term of the day happens to be, these things originate in Europe.
Yeah.
They're debated. Something happens, usually a higher regulatory burden, and it makes its way to the United States.
Yeah.
So as it relates to Europe, like you bring up a really good point. It's like there is this need for an enhanced advocacy for the sector. Like, how did we get here? Like, why is it so bad? I know it's getting a little bit better, but why is it in the current state that it is?
Yeah. It's a great question. I don't know if I have the exact answer, and I think it comes from a couple of different areas. The first was, I think it really started with like the Paris Climate Agreement, and this idea that there is a legitimate kind of regulatory, need to do this, and people were, they had specific goals and they had to reach them. But I think my personal opinion around that is that it's a very, like, net zero is something that is a privilege to think about. And when you're in a privileged economy or a developed economy, thinking about net zero is like a luxury to think about it.